Hey guys, I'm going to try changing the format a little bit and talk more from stories. I'm a journalist by training, so that's what I've done for about 8 years, which is look at stories. Before that, the first thing of storytelling is tell them what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you said. So this is just a quick of what I'm going to say, which is that in the social sector around 2010, there was an innovation called social impact bonds. And the larger idea is that you pay for outcomes. So you have investors who give money to a project. If the project delivers some social outcome, then in that case, the investors get repaid. So it eliminates the risk of non-performance in public goods funding, which we all know is quite an issue over here. We've seen this sector grow quite a bit. There's over $700 million which have been given in impact bonds, mostly by big pocket funders and governments. So there's really scope to decentralize this system because it's very centralized. It requires a funder with deep pockets. And there was one study which said $20 million is the minimum ticket size for an impact bond to be worth it. So actually reducing that number is a huge opportunity in which we can do in blockchain. So now going to the story mode. I've been a journalist for a long time. In college, I started a magazine and that got banned by the principal. And I then filed a court case against him. He suspended me. The suspension got overturned. It was quite an experience in undergrad because he suspended me a week before graduation. So I wouldn't have been able to attend the ceremony. I won the case so I could attend it. And the media was like crazy over the story. And we won finally. After that, I went to the Columbia Journalism School, where I was lucky to be in the year that the Panama Papers came out. So I actually got access to those documents and researched on Azerbaijan, which is a very corrupt dictator running the country for many decades. And I found that he had an airline which got US loan guarantees and military contracts so that the US could access Azerbaijan airspace, and they were enriching his family. That led to the CEO to resign, another cool impact. After that, I spent about 5 years with CGNet Swara, which is a journalism outlet in central India, where a war has been going on for about 5 years. Sorry, for 50 years. I've been with them 5 years in that. So I interviewed victims of the conflict on both sides. We started a journalism platform where people were reporting their own stories, like we don't have a road, teachers are not coming to the school. And we would try sending it to the government saying, hey, in this war zone, the people actually want this. They want a road or they want teachers to be built. So all of this had very quantifiable and tangible impact, like a court case, a CEO resigning, calls for Congress to investigate the Azerbaijan airlines, a road being built in a village. But what I basically saw was that all these organizations had to keep writing grant applications, which I felt was a waste of time. They've done like Panama Papers, they've got $10 billion returned. And like the definition of public goods, which I like, is value creation minus value capture. So we've had like the Panama Papers create value, like $10 billion return. So that's the value created, minus the value capture, which is it's like whatever they get in grant applications, which is not a lot. So public goods funding has to bridge the gap between value creation and value capture. So that's when I started looking into solutions. It's been a long journey. I started in 2017 on this problem, trying to solve it, did many different things. Finally, in 2022, settled on blockchain-based impact certificates as the idea to really focus and go deep on. So this is in brief what the solution is. Before impact certificates, which is where we are now, including in Web3, is that someone raises money, they create impact, and then something happens, and then they raise money again. But there's no real feedback loop over here. Whereas with impact certificates, someone would raise money, create impact, mint a certificate, and then as funders, we just buy that certificate from them. And then they have money for their next impact. So that actually solves a lot of problems. And the biggest one I can say is that it solves the issue of selling impact multiple times. Right now, what happens is that the optimal strategy for a revenue maximizing organization is create impact once and then have 5 different people marketing it to as many funders. And then each of them gives you money for that one impact you created. Whereas with blockchains, we can actually solve this issue of double selling of impact by you've created impact, record it on a public ledger, someone buys that impact, and now you can't sell it again. You have to create new impact before you can again create another impact certificate. So this is the kind of what we built initially. This is what our specs were. People report an issue, it gets solved, and the impact report gets published. So this already exists for the media outlets I work with. Where we came in was we evaluated the report to give it an impact score. We published it on chain. Then it becomes available for purchase by funders, and then it's sold, and then that again funds the organization to again do it. And another insight I'll say is that at scale, when we give funding in grants, it's a service contract. So you'll get a McKinsey or a KPMG at scale. Whereas when you're buying their product, which is an impact certificate, you can actually get product-based startups, which can create an Apple or a Microsoft at scale. You allow more incumbents and to be displaced because there's less reliance on brand. So this is the minimum lovable product for journalism. So these are stories like a teacher was stealing food from children, like based on they have free lunch, but they were trying to steal that money and the children weren't getting lunch. Journalists reported on it, and then the teacher got suspended after that, and many other such impacts. So this is the other really cool part that I'll say, which is that every impact has a price attached to it. So if you see here, $1,470. So the rule of negotiation is that the person who gives a number first loses. And right now in public goods funding, we are the ones giving the number first. Whereas I think with impact certificates, the organization has to give the number first. So this is the outcome we created, this is the certificate, and this is how much it cost. And this is where some of the game theory part comes in as well. Because we are funding the outcome and not the organization, we can actually give a much more impartial score. So right now, if I apply in a Filecoin Retro PGF round and I don't vote for someone, they get upset. Why did you not vote for me? Do you not love me? All of that. But when you're looking at the impact, like a human trafficker was arrested, you can give an impact score because it's not about the organization, it's about that impact. And then if I don't vote or I don't support that outcome, it's less contentious because it's okay, I think you can do better next round. So create much better outcome and I'll support it next time. So it allows for more neutral conversation and not as emotionally charged. The game theory part is that benefit cost ratio. So again, some definitions which I think are important because we overuse impact and all of that. Output is your deliverable, which you deliver. An outcome is the effect of that deliverable, which is monitored over time and you see what effect it has. It's not in your hands. Output is in your control. Outcome is not in your control. It's the effect of the deliverable. And impact is outcome relative to cost. This is the part that everyone misses out on. People are they were so impactful, but we don't divide it by the cost or the amount that they received. Because educating a child is an outcome. But if you've educated one child at $1 million, that's a negative impact because you've been cost inefficient. So people forget that element of cost. So we divide impact, which we calculate by the cost. So we always keep that kind of rationalization there. And this is the last slide. We really hope, we've already got 2 forks of our repo. We launched about 10 days ago. And I really hope that for Filecoin Retro PGF 3 and other mechanisms in the future, we actually start just fork voice deck and start ask anyone to apply with hypercerts of their outcomes, give a price of that hypercert, and then badge holders have to just choose hypercerts rather than organizations. I think it can add a lot of rationalization. Organizations can't sell their impact multiple times. There's a price given to impact. So it makes the job of badge holders easier in not allocating. Raymond was saying about how humans can't allocate properly. We solved that problem, because they've given a price. Fund outcomes and not the brand. Like Jesus said, kind of hate the sin but not the sinner. I think here we should fund the outcome but not the brand. So yeah.